We are now here to talk about the intersection of awards, architecture, and the media. What do awards make visible and what do they leave out? Why do some become headlines while others remain unnoticed? Or what role do the media play in legitimizing, amplifying, or ignoring some projects that get awarded? So we have with us Nick Axel, editor of e-flux Architecture, curator and head of architecture department of Gerrit Rietveld Academy. Pilar Marcos, editor-in-chief of Diseño Interior, award juror and the critical voice for within the editorial world. Albert Nogueras, architect, cultural critic, contributor to Núvol and El Diario, and president of AJAC, Young Architects Association of Catalonia. So, like before, I'll leave you the space to introduce yourself, and then we start with the conversation. So, Nick.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invitation, and yeah, it's great to be here. So I am here as deputy editor of e-flux Architecture, but as Miriam said, I also, alongside this, I am an educator. I run a bachelor's department in architectural design at the Art Academy in Amsterdam, and I've been with e-flux Architecture for 9 years, which is when it started. But e-flux Architecture, even though it was founded in 2016, e-flux Architecture is a part of e-flux, which is a wider media platform. e-flux started in 1999, and it has grown ever since then. But there is something particular about the fact that it started in 1999 regarding its medium, which I will hopefully get to. So e-flux Architecture is primarily comprised of 2 different types of material. We publish, on the one hand, we publish announcements, which are effectively press releases from institutions, museums, biennials, galleries, practices, universities from all over the world. And alongside that, we also undertake editorial collaborations with many of these same institutions to commission new scholarly essays reflecting on what we and our partners believe to be relevant and urgent ideas, topics, and discourses within the field of architecture today. So, as I mentioned, so these are kind of the 2 channels that we publish. I will primarily be focusing on announcements today, at least because that's kind of how it relates to awards and prizes. So our announcements, we publish about 1 to 2 a day. Over the past 9 years, we've published close to 3,000, and from around 800 different institutions from around the world. We are, in a sense, not so much a journalistic platform. We do not commission writers to write about exhibitions or events. We are much more an archive that different institutional actors and figures within the field can themselves contribute to. So this archive is something that we've built up over the years and will continue to grow. But I think the fact that this is something that is created effectively by the community, by different curators, by different scholars, by different researchers, is something very important about the type of community that we facilitate and the audience that we speak to. Our audience, let me see what comes next. So as I mentioned, we also do editorial collaborations where we commission new essays. We did 2 collaborations with different pavilions, the Swiss and the British Pavilion in Venice, but we do many, many, many more. So, as I mentioned, we started in 1999. Back then, in the world of contemporary art, Art Forum was the default kind of mechanism for advertising a gallery opening that was incredibly expensive. You had to take out a full page. So e-flux started with, back then, was the radical gesture of sending an email. And so e-flux, at its core, we have a website that gets up to 1 million views every month. We have every social media platform, but at its core, what we are is a mailing list. And our mailing list, these are all of the emails that we at e-flux Architecture have sent out since May 7th. This mailing list, as I mentioned, has been growing somewhat organically over the past 25 years. And it is primarily comprised of the people that work with us and that represent their work on our platform. In a sense, we are, in a way, almost a peer-to-peer platform where people contribute their work to our archive because they want to be seen within a group and they want their work to be recognized within a wider field of cultural and discursive activity. Most of the times, I will say, we do not publish buildings. Most of what we do is we publish exhibitions, university university programs, and kind of a related discursive events to architecture, not so much buildings themselves. Part of the reason for this is our financial model, which, Marta, thank you for mentioning this last time. I've been saying, our people contribute to our archive, but there is a fee to contribute to our archive. So there is a kind of barrier to entry to do this. And so in this sense, to publish on e-flux, and we are very open to practitioners and really almost anyone who wants to publish, architects operate on a different kind of model of press and media where they expect media platforms to go to them and write about their work because they need to do that. And we can speak about kind of the logic behind media platforms, but one of the things that came up a lot last time in the last panel was, in the end, these stories need to, in today's day and age, they used to need to sell copies of the paper. Now they need to get eyes on a page. Because that is effectively monetized to advertisers who want to put their advertisements on this page. That is not our funding model. We are effectively funded by the community. There are some advertisements on our page, but again, they're effectively the same thing as the main content that we do. So as I mentioned, we are we're based in New York, but I live in Amsterdam. It's almost all online, even though in New York we have a space. We have a screening room where we have weekly film screenings of video art. We have a bar that we have listening sessions and musical performances in. But our community beyond New York is really everywhere all over the world, and it's almost whoever wants to be a part of it. As I mentioned, there is a financial barrier to entry for those who want to put their content into our archive, but when it comes to people reading it, everything is free. Everything is available to anyone to at least be kind of aware at what is happening somewhere in the world, what is relevant. So these are just some of I mean, this is just A, but we have many more. So, I mean, I was invited here this panel is presumably dedicated to awards and prizes, and I looked a bit through our archive, and I was actually a bit surprised. So out of the 2,800 announcements that we published over the past 9 years, about 100 are related to awards or prizes. That's about 3%. Of announcements. And I don't know if that's a lot, I don't know if that's a little. I mean, I actually thought it would be much less. And this is potentially because, when we started building this archive, it was at a time where arguably, and please don't, no one hold me to this, but there were certain awards, one hosted by this institution, another that goes by the name of the Pritzker Prize, had a certain cachet within the architectural community that we desperately wanted at that moment, because we felt like it was important to bring people from our community onto our page and to expose them to everything else we do. These institutions, these major prizes, did not agree with our economic model. It was similar. I mean, it's not to say that they don't pay for advertising. I don't know if they do. But we added this material ourselves. But since, I think, 5 years, we have effectively stopped doing that. But at the same time, there are a lot of awards and prizes that will announce with us, but these are traditionally newer awards, like the Obel Award or the Emoto Award. So newer awards that are trying to make a name for themselves that do not already have a name recognized within the community. It's also a place where, like, the Transfer Architecture Video Award has announced for a very long time, because maybe they are trying to establish the validity of a new medium of filmmaking within architecture, not to the general public, but to the architecture community itself. So I think that's enough. I hope I spent too long, but well.
No, it's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you all.
This is me. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for coming. I'm the representative, I think, the more traditional media here. I'm printed magazine, and when I say it's because I really feel like if the magazine, it's me. It's my way to communicate. I'm also traditional, a Spanish traditional one. My English is very Spanish, you will know this. And I think it's my first panel in English. Super. I'm sorry. Well, anyway, I want to introduce you to Diseño Interior. Diseño Interior is the magazine I worked for many, many years. I will tell you a very short story about it. But from 2016, I'm also the owner, because it was founded by an editorial company in 1991, so we are 34 years old. But the company went to a bankrupt in 2016, and I was working for the magazine, and I had the opportunity with my team to manage the magazine by ourselves. So it's 9 years now that we are working the magazine for us and for the readers, because the readers are the same that were before. Our magazine is sold in newsstands, but also for subscriptions are very important for us. Our readers are mainly professionals, although my objective is to present the content in the most open way we can. I mean, with rigor, with criteria, but a very easy way, no? I'm journalist, I'm not architect. I think journalists, we can write about almost anything because we know how to research and we know how to get the sources. And this is what I've been doing for all my professional life. I have learned a lot from architects because I always have architects as companions of this trip, technical directors in the magazine, the whole story of the magazine. And I learned a lot from them. First of all, the language, because I must say that architect, you have your own language. Maybe no everyone understands you. And this is why I'm here. I'm trying to help people to understand architectures and your language in particular. Diseño Interior, I'm going to show you a short video. It's just to make a background. Yeah, I think. I'm sorry, I missed to take a copy with me. We are, as I said, Diseño Interior is a printed magazine. It's publishing 11 times a year. That is really a challenge. Not many magazines are still printing so many issues a year. And our main focus is interior design. When the magazine was founded in the 1991, the editorial company was inspired by Domus. Julia has talked about it. Diseño Interior also copied the old format in a very big format and so on. But it only lasted a short period because the magazine became more and more for architecture, and this was the desire of the owners. The owners wanted to be focused on interior design because they found an opportunity for a magazine in this subject. But the technical director, by this time, at the end of the 19th, they were interested just in architecture. So the company decided to change totally the focus, and they called me. I was quite young by this time, and I joined the magazine as a senior editor and starting learning about architecture. I only knew by this time how to communicate, but not communicate in particular architecture. I learned a lot. As I said, I'm very grateful for the people who trust on me and my possibilities. And after that, we went on working on interior design in a period in Spain where interior design was not very well understood. I remember times it was very hard to find interior design projects in this moment because there was only or architecture or decoration. There was an empty space in between. I remember when I requested some interior design project to the architectural studio, they sent me empty houses without anything, nor furniture, not coverings, not anything, but the volumes or not the general spaces or just the constructive details. So it was quite hard. But in Catalonia, then Catalonia really was, by this time, the place where very interesting interior design projects were happening. And they were, for sure, they were in Diseño Interior. I would like to think that our magazine helped to understand better the discipline, the interior design sector in Spain. This video shows, I don't know if this has happened. Oh, it doesn't matter, that's yours. Here you are. Just to tell you about, this video shows the last period of the magazine where we were focused on, for us as a printed magazine, is very important, our graphic image, you know. Although the content has been almost the same during all these years, because we are quite close to the readers that are mainly interior designers and architects, and we think we know what they like or what they are expecting from us. We wanted to present this content in a very, in a more modern and freshly way. So last year we did a new graphic image together with a studio from Barcelona, and it helps us a lot to update or to give more interest to the content that for us or for the readers could be all interesting, but also something that you would enjoy to discover or to take time to know more, no? I like very much working for a magazine like this because I have enough time to think and to make reflection about subjects, but at the same time I'm just very much on what is happening today. For us, the magazine is a service. That's what we want to think we are, because our readers need to know, really need to know what is happening, what is good, what is not, what is doing whoever, why, what are the values that you have to take into consideration when you are facing a project, what society can expect from architecture or design nowadays. So our commitment is exactly with this, with giving this service to the professional in particular, but also to general public. And that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Pilar. I don't know, Albert, if you...
Thank you for inviting me also. Well, in my case, I've chosen some images that I use to explain, well, better what I talk in my articles. So I'm not going to be focused on the content of them. So I let them here, and you can like find some connections. In my case, I'm architect. I'm not journalist, and I used to I work as an architect in the metropolitan area of Barcelona. So as a journalist, I only dedicate like a very tiny part of my schedule, but it's something that I do like very happy. I feel that I have somehow a literary vocation that I had even before starting to study architecture. So I can say that I've found like the perfect merge. Like for me, in my case, speaking or writing about architecture is like a good link of doing what I like, that it's writing, and doing about a content that I love, that it's architecture, and at the end it's maybe probably the thing that I know the most because of my studies. And currently I'm writing for Núvol, that is a digital media here based in Barcelona that used to cover culture in all, well, in a very broad sense, especially literature, cinema, theater, even dancing, and architecture. It was a lack that they had, and many years ago I started like to send them some articles like as a volunteer, because I felt that nobody was talking about something that I thought that was very important. It was, for example, the case during the pandemic when everybody was wondering about their own houses, and I thought that maybe architects, we had something to say about it, not because we were living like in a very happy life here with a very good weather in Barcelona, and our houses was something that we don't pay a lot of attention, and suddenly we were there like confined and surprised. All our houses were like very small. We didn't have any space to have the light of the sun or to be in contact with the exterior. So it's maybe with that article that I took some link with the media, and with another one that was based on the polemic that we have here in Barcelona, that was with the ampliation of Magba, the museum, that I think that recently have started to be built, and everybody was discussing if it was like I would say that they were stopping the culture to grow, because it was a museum that needed more space, but nobody was paying attention of it. The city needed another space for a museum in a neighborhood that it's like very crowded, like Raval. And well, about Núvol, what I can say is that well, as I said, it's especially about literature, cinema, and theater. And for me, it was surprising, like many times in the generalist media, when somebody talk about architecture, nobody mentioned it like the architect, like the author. That it's something that it's unthinkable if you, for example, if you talk about a book, do not say who is the writer, the author. But with architecture, it happened. So I started like to push a little bit to make some space for architecture, and to give architecture a bit more of recognition inside the cultural world. And nowadays we have a section of architecture in Núvol. And 2 years ago, I started to write too for El Diario.es, that is a generalist media in Spain, digital also. And there they were interested in speaking about architecture, but in a very, I would say, like low profile. No, before they had a discussion about the elitist thing that sometimes has architecture, and there they are a bit scared about it too. So what I do is to try to find some topic that it's linked with the everyday life of people, with the house style that people lives here in Spain, and through that window to give a bit of content or deeply content of architecture. For example, and what is I think that works very good there is that they used to suggest me like the topic, and then I take it and make it like bigger. For example, they say, can you say something about balconies and why so many people that tend to close them? And from this very like common reality, you can talk about why many architects refused to put balconies in their buildings during the 80s, or how now they are going back, and why they are, for example, the aesthetic of a building that was Mies Award, the one in Bordeaux, from La Catoni Basal, that, well, the aesthetic of that building was based in pouring everything from the inside of the houses on the balcony and show the bicycle, the clothes, the table, the plants, or wherever. And, well, I have some other thing to say. And my experience with articles, to say which are the ones that has like more acceptation, or which ones are a bit more difficult for the general public. I would say that if you find something that is related with the, well, with the quotidianity of people, you have there like this link to grab their attention. And for example, recently we spoke about La Plaza de las Glorias, and it was very successful because it's a square that people can go and can enjoy. And people, in fact, maybe they don't have the language that we speak, architects, as you say, that it's this thing that we repeat constantly, that maybe as a collective we are a bit endogamic, and we like very much to make our own codes. But everybody has, in fact, like a criteria about architecture, and people, when travel, tend to visit mainly architecture. So everybody somehow is interested in architecture, and everybody has some culture about architecture. And people, when goes to a square that it's new in their city, they don't go just to live it. They go there and like to have a recognition about all the space and comment with people like, I like that part or that other, or if you compare it with the park that we were in London, it's lacking green or wherever. So it's talking about these things that people can prove and can live. And for example, well, in my case, I'm not doing journalism in a way of giving information. So when I talk about, for example, Glorias, I don't have to say all the technical information of what the politics said about it the day that they open it. So, well, this is my point of view as an architect, that it's a kind of tourist in the journalism world.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting. I think it's very interesting because you are different kind of media, different kind of experience of history and the different view on the profession. So to go to our topic, no, that's a bit the awards that, as was said before, awards and prize and events are some hooks, no, for the media to speak about architecture. In your case, and with different vision, what makes an award a news for you? So when an award deserves to be published, no, in a magazine, in a newspaper, and in the case of e-flux, you said that there are not so many awards. No, that
I don't know if there's that many.
yeah, but it's and it's connected, but about building, that many times are buildings who are the winners of the award. It's because you have not so many buildings because they don't upload the project because you didn't refuse them. No, it's just a question of self-regulation in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a financial consideration of the architects. I mean, to speak very bluntly, architects don't feel like they should pay to promote their own work, or that they already pay a publicist, and that the publicist should connect them to people who want to write about them for free. So I think that's more the
reason. But do you think that, for example, in the future, if big company, because many architecture practices are also companies and they're very big and they can pay, if they start paying to be disseminated with e-flux architecture, there will be some regulation in the future depending on the project, or it's completely...
I mean, it's a very hypothetical situation. I mean, I will say when we started, we expected a lot more architects to contribute to the archive with their own projects. So that, I mean, e-flux architecture, I would say it actually started as a bit of an experiment. We didn't really know how it would go. But this is one of the things that we kind of saw, okay, that's something that will work, and it didn't. I mean, but it's really hard to say because, if we were something like Diseño or like ArcDaily, who's publishing, 12 or more different projects, then yes, we would need to establish some criteria. I mean, with our editorial projects, where we are commissioning essays themselves, we're very particular. Everything is thematic, and so there is somewhere where we really exercise our judgment in a real kind of like editorial and critical capacity. But yeah, it is a little bit self-regulating.
Okay.
In our case, of course, we are publishing awards, but not every award. It depends on the purpose of the award. It's just a recognition, for example. We are not very much interested in recognition in the career of no one. No, for example, if Mr. Forster has received another award, it's not very much interesting for me. For me, I mean, for the magazine, of course, because this is on the news, on the normal news, if it has importance in general. But for me, awards, when they have the purpose to discover good practices, inspiring projects that can build a better future for whatever subject, it could be whatever, are really important. We help them to disseminate this information, but because we consider that it's important for readers, for society in general, it inspires a lot. I think it inspires really a lot. And also it's a way to build our own criteria as media. As a journalist, my criteria is being built all this time, during all this time. And when I recognize a good award that I trust on them, it helps me a lot. Sometimes it discovers new name, and sometimes it reinforces my own opinion, no? But how do you know which one is good or which one is not good? I always pay attention first, if I don't know the word, to the jury, who is part of this award, and sometimes to the shortlist. For example, the other day, some weeks ago, I had the opportunity to know an award that I didn't know, but this time it was called something like Bank whatever Swiss Award. In fact, it was the Swiss award, but I didn't notice that it was the Swiss award because now it has the name of a bank
Okay.
at in the name of the award. But the award was for a studio in Ecuador that I've never heard about, that it was named Al Borde. And of course, you know, I didn't know them. And the projects that were awarded were very humble, very simple, very for the community. Projects that probably in terms of building are not, they don't deserve an award. But as I didn't know the name of the award, I pay attention to the shortlist. And in the shortlist, there were Lina Gottlieb or Hannah Heringer or Carles Oliver or other people that are very important, for me, are doing a great job and really references in the architecture we are interested in. So I thought, oh my goodness, if all these shortlists are so good, this one must be a one that we must follow. So we are publishing this award. So this is just an example.
Well, in my case, at the end, like an award is always like a good excuse because as a freelance, I have to sell like my topics to the media, and well, it's a good excuse because there's like there's a fact that you can talk about it, like the venue of when they gave like the award, etc. But then you can link it with speaking about architecture and to say, okay, it's changing maybe like the criteria of what they think that it's like the best architecture or what they are pointing, what is going to be done for next years. For example, in the last Mies Award, I wrote an article that was titled like maybe Mies Foundation like gave the prize to the conscious architecture because not suddenly, because maybe some years ago this started to be like this, but the two buildings that received the prize were a library built in a neighborhood of working people here in Barcelona, and that it was done by wood. And the other one was a very, I would say, simple, maybe for a lack of vocabulary in English, but it wasn't simple as a bad thing. An extension, well, not an extension, but another a building for students in a campus in Germany with a very simply lightweight structure that with a very calm aesthetic and a building that you think that it could be built anywhere because anywhere would be suitable for in terms of context. And if you compare it with the architecture that people saw in media like 20 years ago, that was the show architecture, no? That all the constructivism and all the star system architects that were competing for doing something more strange and more complicated than the previous one. There, thanks to the awards, you have like a topic that it's very feasible to explain.
Yeah, that is a bit something that Pilar already said and you. So the criteria and the values of many prizes changed. The awards changed a lot, no? In the last years. Do you think that it's something happening, especially in some kind of awards? Because we have to say we have a lot of awards today, and a lot of awards also from private company, private brands. So how do you see the panorama more in general? Do you see differences, or it's a tendency that you see?
Many differences. There are many awards, maybe too much awards. But because if there are too much, you always think, well, we are awarding everyone. No, or in this type of awards that have thousands of submissions and and almost 1,000 finalists. So where are we awarding? So I think we can find out what is behind the organization of the award. What is the purpose of the award? There are some awards that are just the business, and we must recognize them. It's not or good or bad. It's not a question of being good or bad, but just to know what is the purpose. Because it could be honest business. It's wonderful to have a very good panel of jury to decide what is good or not, and then to let the companies or the designers or the architects the opportunity to get this award and make business with it. It's okay, but you must know it, that it's a business. Other awards, what do they want? Do they want to show up new names or to support values? Do they want to support values? If they do, for me, they are absolutely necessary because it's a way to disseminate these values. But it is just to celebrate themselves, because there are organizations and companies that are they are using the awards to reinforce themselves, to make business and marketing with it. We must know it. It's not the same. But at the end of the day, I always want to be positive, and if they allow me to know something new and interesting, it's okay. I have the Spanish designer that once told me that Diseño Interior is a celebrating magazine. It belongs to this group of media that are celebrating magazines or media, because we don't make any criticisms. Of course, we are not doing it directly because we are just publishing what we consider good or with quality or that deserve to be published. But this is also a way to make criticism, no? It's our support to good values, no? And this is what I think that awards have sense nowadays.
And connecting with the kind of awards that we have, Nick, a question to you, that you are also a teacher, working in the university. The awards for young students, for students, for young architects, do you think they are helpful, they are well seen inside the university, or because there are a lot of big panorama of awards?
Yeah. I mean, I think, like awards always do something, right? Like when you give an award to someone, as you were saying, like it can have an effect here, it can have an effect there. Sometimes, and I think that there's, like there are some student awards that might be kind of looking for the best, but I think, awards, they're also distillations, I think, of certain positions. And I think, over the past like 15, 20 years, awards have really kind of reflected on that position and like what is the message that we are putting out to the world by selecting, a project. It's not about figuring out what the best is, right? It's something much more like tactical almost in terms of how do you make an impact with an audience that you want. But so in that sense, I mean, in the way that they kind of clarify certain positions, they can be very helpful for students to understand, maybe what is like with this case of the Mies Award, like what is, a cutting edge example of like demountable architecture, right? So I think that they're useful for students who are looking to understand more about the world out there. And they're also useful for like me as an editor, right? I mean, it's like it helps to introduce new practices to professionals and students alike. But I mean, student awards in particular, I'm not super familiar because the school that I teach at over the past 10 years has taken a kind of radical stance to eradicate competition within the pedagogical environment. So like we've dismantled all of our awards because as an institution, and there are other academic institutions in the Netherlands that, they'll have 50 different awards for the graduating class. But this was a bit before my time, so I don't entirely agree with this, but there was an idea that the kind of competitiveness that prizes or awards may generate is actually counterproductive to the type of social and pedagogical environments that we are trying to cultivate in the school. But I mean, a lot of prizes, a lot of awards, they're not open, right? You can't just submit if you want. It's also, so prizes and awards are not necessarily about competition, but it also is. Anyways, I'm just kind of rambling.
And a question, one aspect of awards that for me it's very important sometimes for the general public, that especially if the awards is for building in a small village or in a peripheral region, sometimes people, the general public, that is with our interest also to dissemination of architecture, suddenly discover to have a good architecture in their small village, in their area. So we saw now with the EUMIS awards sometimes that really how people discover to have a good example of architecture that is something that otherwise probably will never happen. What do you think when you see or try to cover, will cover a prize, there is this effect very important on the audience that you take into account?
Yes, for example, it helps like to people from a spot like to be conscious of like by sudden of the good things of something that they have there and they were ignoring. For example, well, going back to the library of Garcia Marquez, that it was well, it received many prizes like Mies, I think FAT also, and it was like the best library of the world in the 2024 or 23. So people in Barcelona, and I suppose that especially in San Martí, they were proud. And suddenly they start to go there and saying like, it's not only a library where I can rent a book or stay here reading or wherever. It's also like a place like to see and to to see some details, because it's architecture that there's many people that maybe they use a building unconsciously and they feel that they are comfortable there, but they don't pay attention in the building by itself. For example, once I wrote about maybe that a sentence that it's not true, but it's fun to say that in Barcelona we have like the worst building of the best architects in the world. No, that we have a CISA, but it's like a very normal building in front of the sea. We have the triangle of Herzog and de Meuron, that it's not maybe their best work. We have also, which one was very like exemplar? The fish of Gary, I added too, and well, or Akbar also, and Coisarola of Foster. And I said, well, no, but I said that it wasn't like true at all, that sentence, but we can play like to fit some projects. And speaking about, and not in this case, but I talk about La Illa Diagonal, that it's a work of Moneo and Sola Morales, and my sister said that we lived like very close to La Illa Diagonal, and we used to go there, and she said like, I've never like wondered about the building of La Illa Diagonal. Now that you say, it's a very good building and it's huge, but I didn't realize. So these kind of prizes give this consciousness to to the people of the place, and this is important.
Yeah.
And also make these buildings a tourism destiny. No?
Of course, it happened with the library. That of course
Or-
there are a lot of tourists visiting.
Or
That is the
blame
other.
on me. I'm from Barcelona, and until the day that I started to
didn't know.
study architecture, I've never noticed that here there was this flat building, like because well, I'm not from a family of architects, and Mies van der Rohe could be an architect or a rock band when I heard about it.
And Albert, from the perspective of a Jacques, the young generation of architects, they dream to win a prize, or is a different? Also, there is a better disillusion because there are so many prizes.
It's
and
a
awards. There is, but
It's a discussion that we have very alive inside Ajak, because like 2 weeks ago we had the prizes, and Gim, that is here, he was there with us, and he could like follow a little bit like the evolution of prizes. And the main discussion that we have is what you said, that it's needed somehow, like to compete, like a prize, and especially when we have like 10 categories, because we try to split and to put everything in the pocket that it has to go. And for example, well, before that you say Alborde, they were jury of our prizes. So and for example, in new buildings, we are comparing like a huge public building with a tiny private house in the same category. So it's like apples and pears. How can you compare, or how can you choose this is better of the other one? And at the end, everything like crosses like the criteria of the jury that you have selected. So we are in a mood that more than saying, okay, you won, we would like to do a selection of good architecture done by young architects. And now we have linked the prizes to a biennial where we show all this work. But going back to the topic that bring us here today, like media needs to know 1, 2, or 5 names. You can give them like a bunch of 20 projects, because then you don't have visibility.
Yeah, you don't.
So maybe we couldn't, we can kill awards as we know them.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's an interesting start, and as we know, we want to open the debate to this public, that all of you are related with the profession. So.
Articles. I was even editor-in-chief of a magazine named Ecologique in France from 2007 to 2016. And then I thought that it wasn't enough, and so I decided to create a prize with friends of mine. And what I want, I'm a good friend of Anna Heringer and Martin Rauch, and so we wanted to push those materials. And first in 2016, we launched the Terra Award, and we decided it's an international prize for contemporary architecture in Earth. And we have got 350 propositions, and we have chosen 40. And out of them, we have made an exhibition and a book, because I think that it is really the best way to communicate as much as widely as possible. And the Terra Award exhibition was shown in more than 60 places over 3 continents. I opened it in Hong Kong, in Peking, in Marrakesh, and then we said, earth is not the only alternative material, there are also fibers. And then a few years later, we made the Fibra Award for straw and hempcrete and bamboo and so on. And then it was the same, so big success. And then we have seen that there are many buildings with earth which also have fibers and the other way. And then we made the Terra Fibra Award. And it was the same principle. We have 40 finalists. We made an exhibition and this book. And then we thought, it's not enough. There is a geo-based material which is not within the group. And so the last one, which is called Materia, has also stone in it. And the exhibition was launched in March in Paris, and I hope it will come in the Institut Français next year. And it was interesting what you said before, that you don't want to kill your award with too many people. So we go another way. What we want to show is that it is possible. And what we also want to create is a network. And what I really love is that we invite, or most of the people come at the opening of the exhibition. For the materia, there was one from China, 3 from Spain, from Ibavi, and from Australia, and so on. And then they invite themselves in their universities. And I think it is this creating of a network which helps those materials to extend.
Thank you very much. The concept of network around an award is very interesting, and actually is what from the Muse Award we are doing, also connecting young architects, young talent with the winners.
Are there any questions around? Because if not, in the meantime, okay. Yeah, exactly. When you were asking Nick or everybody about the students, no, and how they see awards and so on. One of the interesting things that I understood from the question was not that much about competition between students, but how the students can use these awards, these prizes, to look towards what's happening. No, we know that many of our students are using social media and certain kind of TikTok to, when you ask them, to see what architecture is going on in Europe or wherever. So what's interesting is that we know that throughout the Americas, but also in Europe, there are certain professors that are using the archives of the certain prizes. That's why we had this conversation in Venice beyond the prize, no prizes in which there are archives, there are articles written, there are debates through jury discussions and so on, which are open, so that then those professors use those for the students to have a critical kind of way of seeing how we speak about architecture and so on. And I think that becomes something really important to create this critical kind of mind regarding architecture. But Julia, you had a question.
It's a question, non-question consideration, but it's definitely a question. Because like Albert said something like you were comparing a little bit, let's say, the authorship of a book and the authorship of like a piece of architecture. This is not, let's say, something I'm contesting, but like in my brain, this like started to, let's say, work its way up. And when I think about a book, I think of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people like collaborating together to make a book. Whereas architecture, there is this incredible book I really love, which is called Architecture Depends from Jeremy Till, that really raises the question of authorship in architecture. So, like, in a moment when, let's say, architecture comes from, I don't know, someone that commissions the building, the workers, the whole system that it's behind, the making, the conceptualization of the building, etc. And the architect is more of an orchestrator of that system, and how well he engages with that system produces good or bad results. And so in a moment where we are trying to exit this like Archistar nightmare we are involved in, I think like awards sometimes are, let's say, also questioning today the idea of authorship. I think like the EU Mies is doing, let's say, a great job in this, but what's your take when you, like, starting from, let's say, being experts of architecture, you think about authorship today in this light?
Architects. Answer.
I don't know.
I can't improve what you have said. I think that you said that it was a question on question. No, it's interesting. I like to understand that architecture has this broad, like very broad dimension that at the end pointing one person or one studio, it's a bit of simplify like the topic, and it's, well, you said something similar, that architecture is also like so linked to the context and to money, that it's like the other thing that makes that architecture, it's completely different to the other arts. At the end, it's the thing that one person in a room can write a novel or a theater play, or, well, cinema, it's not the same, like it's everything very expensive too, like in architecture, but architecture like needs so many things and so much investment that it has a dimension that it's not only cultural or artistic. At the end, it's like, well, it's so related with economy and with the politic of the country where it's built, that judging only about what you see in some photographs, it's tricky.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a really important distinction to be made, particularly when it comes to awards, regarding an award of a specific building and a reward of an architectural practice. Not even an architect, but I really want to emphasize on the word practice here. I mean, I think when you're conceptualizing, or when you're thinking about giving an award to a building, I think that really allows you to expand the criteria of authorship, and to really think about, how did this building come about, to really engage with the process. But I think, another type of award, which is not just lifetime achievement awards, because these don't need to come at the end of someone's life, but it speaks more to the way that like a person or a set of people is able to navigate different situations. The way that they position themselves, the way they kind of effectively move through the world and deploy their knowledge and their collaborative abilities and their kind of mastery over an understanding of how things are made, right? And I think so. On the one hand, yes, like we should understand authorship when it comes to individual projects well beyond, let's say, just the individual author. And I think a lot of firms have also kind of tried addressing this, or some have, not a lot, but some have. I mean, it's one of the reasons why like a lot of firms don't have the names of the architects, right? But on the other hand, I think it's also really worth looking at practices. And I don't mean practices as like offices, but I really mean practices as something that is practiced, as something that is kind of tested out in different scenarios, with different sets of stakeholders and different groups of people and different conditions. And so there, I think it really becomes a question of almost consistency. Like how consistent is a practice in terms of achieving a certain maybe set of aims, or articulating a political or a social or an environmental position.
Thank you, Ivan. I have a question. You've spoken really super interesting, and it's made me think about a lot. But when you speak of awards, somehow I have the feeling that you haven't discussed the process of awarding. And it seems like, well, if you get an award, you deserve it. It's the best, you know, the jury chooses, isn't this great? Could you talk a little bit about what makes a good award and what maybe are some deficiencies or inconsistencies in awards that you would change? You spoke of the library, it got 2 awards, isn't it great? But 2 awards, does that make it a good project? If you know, if my neighbors are voting for it, or if the short list is 3 projects and 1 wins, you know. So what is the process of awarding that's positive or negative, so we can evaluate that as we look at awards?
I see much more and consequences than good positions. I see there are many problems, many. First of all, the time that they dedicate to consider the projects. What is necessary to know deeply a project in terms of time, or in terms of what materials do you need to know better a project? Normally, they are showing you a brief, some maybe plans or pictures, but if the pictures are not so good, the project is not so good. So there are many, really many problems. So from this point, accepting that it's not perfect, it couldn't be perfect, first of all, because the jury, they do other things. They are not only jury. They only have the information that they do have on their tables. Maybe they don't know other contests that can be important to value the project that you have on the table. So there are many questions that make awards not be fair. But accepting this, if they are doing it honestly, I mean the organization of the award, the jury that is working, or all the team around an award, I think we have to appreciate it and support it. No, I think honesty is, for me, something that is needed, and it's a commitment of the organization of the award and also the jury that it's involved on it.
I don't know if you want to add something.
No, I can definitely add something. I mean, I think that, you know, what can very easily happen with awards is that the award is actually, giving the award is actually more important for the award giver than the person who receives it. And, right, I mean, you know, I don't know the details, but like there's massive greenwashing that happens through awards. There's massive reputation saving that happens through awards. I don't want to like, I don't know the details of the wholesome award, but like it's, you know, they're promoting alternatives to themselves, so they're kind of trying to kill their own business, but they're also not. But I don't know. So to me, I think it's very important that the award is actually focused on the person that it's being given to. And I think that I have maybe 2 examples of this, of like different ways of approaching it that take very different approaches. One is the Wheelwright Prize from Harvard. And that is kind of funny because I didn't know this is how awards can work, but if you win the Wheelwright Prize, you get a wire transfer of $100,000, and 2 years later, you are expected to give a lecture at Harvard. That's it. You need to submit a plan, so you need to make a proposal of what you are going to do with the money, and then 2 years later, you just need to show what happened. And then the other example is the Amodo Award, which is new, based out of the Netherlands, and they have a lot of like reputation-saving agendas to this, but they are positioning themselves as a kind of social justice-oriented award, and they want proof that their money is being well spent or is actually being used. So you know they require people who have won awards to make like reports on what they have done with that award. And so I guess here, like I'm focusing on like a type of award that is almost closer to a fund than just a celebration of someone's greatness. I mean, personally, I think, yeah, awards should do something, and the people who get the awards should be, to a certain extent, like held accountable for them doing something with that award and not just feeling great about themselves. I don't know.
One more question.
I have a question linked to what Martha said and your answers, and it's very simple. How do awards and prizes in architecture shape the architecture that we do?
Well, they do. Do they? For me, I always as outsider, remember, I'm a journalist. I can notice that awards are building a path to follow. Some awards, not every award. So I'm in these awards that I'm interested in, that are the ones that defend or support values. When you see projects that are recognized in these awards, there are many people following this path. And it happens a lot here in the case of the library that you said, but also, for example, I remember the Balearic Island. They did an amazing job in collective housing, for example. Politics have changed and everything seems to disappear, but they are still receiving awards. So for the world, this work is going on. It's inspiring new projects to come, no? So I think this is my point.
Just to close, but very important for me, this last part. When the UMIS Award recognized Lacaton Vassal work, so it's a prize, that an award, they recognize the project. And I remember the article from Oliver Wainwright and The Guardian using maybe for the first time in a very big title, Never Demolish word that then became like a sort of manifesto for many others practices, following this this way of looking at the project and approaching the project. So I think it's a very interesting connection between architecture, awards, and media that in this sense create a very very virtuous circle. So now it's something that we have very clear in our mind, and I think was an example of this connection. So I don't know, we have maybe also the other question, if you stay please, we have very soon the closing conversation of Architecture in the Media 2025, so now we have a short break and then we are again here.